Junwu Continent has been plagued by a scarcity of medicinal plants since human reproduction, making it difficult to find a single pill. When Zhao Fushuang was 4 years old and was able to practice, she discovered that she could condense medicinal plants, which could condense any plant with medicinal value. She was also the uncrowned king among natural alchemists. When Zhao Fu was 200 years old, 4 divine mountains appeared in her dream. On these mountains, divine beasts roamed around, and heaven and earth flowed in good luck. They were ancient and sacred, with a hidden power to dominate the world. What shocked her even more was that ancient and rare medicinal plants towered high above the 4 sacred mountains, growing wildly without anyone picking them. Later, when she saw Nanshan in the 4 Gods mountain with her own eyes, she realized that it was not a dream mountain, but a real existence in the world and had a secret connection with her. From then on, she embarked on the journey of searching for the ancient 4 Gods mountain keywords of the novel. Rebirth. Marrying a bamboo with no pop-ups, Rebirth. Marrying a bamboo complete collection download, Rebirth. Marrying a bamboo latest chapter reading. Chapter 1. Wedge. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Wedge. At the beginning of heaven and earth, the sun and moon rotate, and yin and yang merge, giving birth to all things. Transcending life and death, asking for eternal life as the wish of the common generation. In order to seek immortality and transcend boundaries, humans look up at the heavens and look down at the earth, observing the state of plants and the suitability of the earth. By approaching the bodies and objects from afar, we can obtain the divine plant. The source of life is the essence of the sun and the moon. The method of divine plants is to connect the radiance of the sun and moon, obtain the path of longevity, transcend boundaries, and wield the power of heaven and earth. The 5 elements of human beings are different, and their plants are also different. However, if they can be bred from the essence of heaven, earth, sun and moon, they will be transcendental and holy, and they will live a long life. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Dreaming on the Divine Mountain. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Dreaming on the Divine Mountain. Junwu has been on the mainland for 5,000 years, and Zhao Fu has reached the age of 100. At the age of 100, according to the tradition of the Yunding sect, her parents will bring Zhao Fushuang and her twin sister Bai Fuyue into the reward pool of the Mayfly God Mountain and the Dingfeng Peak to seek opportunities. On the night before entering the Mayfly Mountain, Zhao Fushuang had a dream. 4 sacred mountains appeared in the dream. On the night when her parents informed her that they would take her and her sister into the Mayfly Mountain the next day, Zhao Fu's 2 sticky beds fell into chaos. In her dream, there was a deep darkness everywhere. Clearly, her consciousness was still clear and not like sleeping, but no matter how hard she struggled, she could never escape the chaotic state. Stupid in the middle of the night. Suddenly, the endless darkness was suddenly pierced by a beam of light, which tore apart the darkness. After drilling out of the gap, it swallowed up all the darkness inch by inch. In an instant, the view brightened up. Zhao Fushuang can even clearly feel the discomfort in her eyes when the light shines over. After squinting her eyes to adapt to the sudden light, Zhao Fushuang looked towards the light. Suddenly, she was completely stunned. Within sight, it is such an ancient and sacred world. In the southeast and northwest, 4 ancient and verdant sacred mountains lie dormant and lie in all directions, with the main mountains rising straight into the sky. The mountains stretch for thousands of miles without any visible boundaries. The visible Taoist charm and auspiciousness flow around the mountain. With Zhao Fushuang's current cultivation and knowledge, she naturally does not know what the Supreme Tao is, let alone what rhyme is. However, at this moment, she overlooks the 4 divine mountains and can clearly realize that the flowing light and colors flowing on the 4 mountains are all the Supreme Tao rhymes. The rugged divine mountain hidden under the melody of the Tao rises into the sky, entangled in clouds and mist. What shocked Zhao Fushuang even more was that rare ancient divine plants that were unheard of grew everywhere on the mountain, wild and unpicked. Green elves that could be directly used for cultivation lingered around the divine plants, flickering in the clouds and mist. What kind of bloody storm will the medicinal plants in this mountain be placed in the scarce Junwu Continent? Compared to the 4 mountains in the southeast, northwest, and northwest, the southernmost mountain appears low, small, and dim, but even so, it is also a sacred existence that the Junwu Continent does not have. Without time to marvel at how precious these endless divine plants and green elves are, I was attracted by a misty river flowing at the foot of the mountain. The thin mist shrouded above the river. No, it's not a thin mist. It was the essence of the sun and the moon that became a dense mist. No, how could there be such a strong breath of life? It turns out that what the river surges is not water, but the essence of the sun and moon. Although the river condensed from the essence of the sun and the moon flows quickly, it is still clear that the bottom can be seen. A fish the size of a strong man leaps into the air from the river water, and the fish scales sparkle with colorful light. The fish rolled in the clouds and then fell into the river, surging and roaring away along the rushing river. Zhao Fu stared blankly at the big fish that had jumped into the clouds and fallen into the river. Is it because she has blurred vision? Why did the fish grow horns after falling into the river? And, after falling into the river, does the fish circulate in circles with the divine radiance bestowed upon them by the heaven and earth avenue only after successful ascent? How could it be? Zhao Fushuang's carefree and unrestrained nature is still filled with astonishment, and the breath he brings up lingers in his throat for a long time. Looking around carefully, everything from towering mountains to a small rock on the mountain, and even a speck of dust in the air, seems to have hidden Taoist charm. Suddenly, groups of colorful divine birds emerged from the sky, carrying a myriad of rosy rays and singing an unknown melody, circling around the 4 sacred mountains. How magnificent and sacred! Zhao Fushuang couldn't help but close her eyes and listen carefully. The sound of rushing river water, the sound of wind in all directions, the chirping of colorful birds, the intertwining of the growth and fermentation of all things, playing one song after another of sadness, joy, separation, and reunion out of thin air. Zhao Fushuang was a bit stunned. Under such a spectacle, the interwoven heavenly sounds were filled with an inexplicable sadness. In turn, the sadness is played out, and various voices interweave into joyful tones that never cease to be heard. There is a light and joyful feeling of sorrow and joy, where everything comes together to celebrate. Zhao Fushuang was immersed in the sounds outside the day and couldn't extricate himself. 7 emotions and 6 desires, experiencing joys, sorrows, separation, and reunion in turns. Time is not old, but it has already changed. In a daze, it seemed as if one life after another had passed away. Dang dang dang. In a daze, there was a knock on the door. Next was the voice of my younger sister by Fuyue. Sister, wake up, we should go now. In an instant, the sound of water was muffled, the colorful divine bird went far away, the wind stopped, everything scattered, and everything was shattered in Zhao Fushuang's sight. A big dream, should have been clear-headed. However, she did not return to her body as a result, but instead wandered beyond the sky, her divine soul floating in the void, overlooking her sister knocking on the door frame of her room. Sister, wake up, it's time we set off. My younger sister's indifferent cries were clear and piercing in her ears. The younger sister's voice seamlessly connected with the heavenly voice in her dream, and there was no sense of hesitation in her thoughts. It was even harder for Zhao Fushuang to distinguish whether she had had a strange and absurd dream or had unrealistic fantasies all night long. She saw that she couldn't respond to 3 calls, and her younger sister pouted with an unattractive mouth, frowning and walking away. Seeing my younger sister come to the front yard, she immediately pursed her lips, revealing 2 small dimples, and then smiled and arched into her mother's arms. My mother hugged her with a doting smile and said, "You're such a big person," still playing coquettish in my mother's arms. My younger sister hugged her mother and said in a sweet voice, "No matter how old I am, I will always be my mother's child." Upon hearing this, the soft light in my mother's eyes almost turned into water. Even my father and brother, who were dressed up and waiting on the side, had a soft expression on their faces. The father smiled and said to his sister, "I don't know when you little monkey will grow up." My younger sister snorted, "I don't want to grow up. When I grow up, I have to leave my parents and go outside to experience alone. I don't want to leave my parents. I want to stay by their side for the rest of my life." The light in my father's eyes became softer, and the smile at the corner of his mouth couldn't even close. Brother Bai Fu rubbed his sister's hair and remembered something. "I asked you to call me Schwanger, why did you come back on your own?" At the mention of this, my younger sister immediately flattened her mouth and said in grievance, "Sister won't respond to me." Then she murmured casually, "Yesterday my sister said she didn't like the Cloud Ding sect coming, and I don't know if she didn't want to go." Upon hearing this, the smile in the eyes of both father and mother faded. The elder brother hesitated and said, "Schwanger doesn't like the reputation of the Cloud Ding sect. It's possible that they don't want to go." My mother's eyebrows and eyes were tinged with a hint of light sorrow. "Schwanger does indeed have the intention of not wanting to enter the Mayfly mountain. A few days ago, she tried to persuade me that she doesn't need external help and wants to cultivate on her own, but I thought it over and over again but didn't agree." Her father's face darkened even more. "Nonsense, she has always been used to being careless in this Yuntai-blessed land. How can she be allowed to act recklessly in such a big mountain event? The Yunding sect is no different from her, but she speaks lightly of likes and dislikes based on her own temperament. How can such a character soar? Sister is indeed too arrogant. I'm afraid one day she will have to endure hardship," said the younger sister. My older brother didn't quite agree and said, "Schwanger has always had deep ideas, but it's not that he doesn't distinguish right from wrong. His arrogance is due to his young age, and he thinks he's making progress over time." The father's face grew worse and he said, "In terms of cultivation talent, Yuer is not inferior to Schwanger. However, Yuer has always been humble and cautious. How could she have been impulsive? Moreover, there are countless geniuses in this world. If she doesn't understand how to restrain her sharpness, enduring hardship is still a small matter, and she is afraid of dying sooner or later." Upon hearing this, the mother was displeased and scolded her father, "What nonsense! Your two children have been intelligent since childhood, mature in nature, and having her own thoughts is not a bad thing. She is also attentive enough in her cultivation. We ignore rumors and prejudices from the outside world, and are just hiding her extraordinary cultivation talent. Closing the door, how can you, as a father, repeatedly underestimate her?" My father also knew that his words were wrong. "Madam, you know I don't think so. You and I are about to soar, and what worries me the most is Schwanger. She is too arrogant and has no one to look after. Without your and my care in the future, we will cause great trouble and no one will come to an end. In my opinion, it is necessary to finalize the marriage between Schwanger and Sichuan as soon as possible." Mother shook her head and said, "Although Sichuan is outstanding 1 in a million, that child has a very arrogant nature and values power too much. In the future, there will be bloody struggles for imperial power, and the two children will not cherish their feathers. They will be notorious in the outside world. I'm afraid they will be treated slowly in the future, and instead of being looked down upon by others, I want to ask my senior brother to take care of her." Father disagreed and said, "She has always had a prejudice against the Yunding sect. Entering the mountain will only cause trouble for her senior brother. Senior brother is used to being pure and pure, so he only needs to take Yuer alone, and Schwanger doesn't need to." Upon hearing these words, my mother was left with only a helpless sigh. Her parents arranged for her and her sister's future. One asks the way, the other enters the mortal world. Obviously, the younger sister is quite satisfied with this arrangement, and her proud lips are full of hidden thoughts. A black cat in the corner of the lotus pond in the courtyard lazily gazes at everything. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Mayfly Mountain. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Chapter 3 Mayfly Mountain. Zhao Fushuang knew that if his consciousness had a body, his face would probably be smiling cynically. She is a twin with her younger sister, who had dimples and smiled deeply at her father from the moment she was born. And she, from a young age, was destined to only become a healing cultivator. She was destined to take the path of attacking, which made her father completely give up personally teaching her how to cultivate. She had already been abandoned, but one day, her father suddenly discovered that she still had the ability to refine pills that the heavens would reward her with food. Her alchemy ability was so outstanding that even her father, who was the first person to refine pills by Junwu, was shining with his eyes. A beautiful story that should have been passed on from her father's business to everyone's happiness ultimately ended when the strain she cultivated destroyed a medicinal field that her father had nurtured for 2,000 years. From then on, she couldn't hide the fact that she secretly planted strains of poison and refined poison pills. After only a few years of filial piety, Mimi's Yuntai blessed land has returned to the days of chicken flying, dog jumping, and 6 restless animals. Her father is always guarding her from planting and refining poison like a thief. Once he discovers it, he will inevitably carry a broom and chase after her for a few days. So, when choosing a surname, the father chose his sister's surname and asked her to follow his mother's surname. This matter cannot be discussed. Her father doesn't want to see this rebellious son crown his surname for a day. My mother said she focuses on her cultivation. Actually, she can't be considered interested. When she meditates, she only spends half of her time practicing and half of her spiritual consciousness wandering through the world, which will slow down her cultivation speed and wait for her sister to catch up. Her younger sister, this girl, looks sweet and beautiful, sensible and obedient, but in fact, her competitive and careful thinking is not good at all. And she, in a harmless situation, is also willing to indulge her, even deliberately teasing her in a malicious way. After hearing this conversation that determined her future direction, her divine sense surprisingly swayed back into her body. After waking up, Zhao Fushuang pondered over the half-dreamy and half-awakened divine mountain while lazily putting on a plain-colored shirt and going out. Seeing her come out, Zhao Fushuang listened nonchalantly to her father's scolding. My father scolded her for being careless and not taking today's big matter seriously. My mother straightened her collar and tied her waist, saying that she wouldn't dress properly no matter how she tried. Can she say she did it intentionally? I just want to intentionally watch my mother get close to her, my sister's petite little face. After half a day, seeing her father turn off the fire, she arched the fire lightly and said, "I'm sure I'm getting old and useless. It's exhausting to scold someone. In fact, my parents have reached a perfect level of cultivation and are about to take a leap, just as the sun is at its zenith." With her words, her father's fire ignited again, and her younger sister obediently followed her father's chest, saying, "Dad, calm down, don't be angry. When your heart is angry, your body will be damaged." As Zhao Fushuang was waiting for her father to breathe a sigh of relief, he said coldly, "A strong person with 100 divine plants filling their body can withstand even thunder tribulations, and can still be infuriated. Old Bai, if that's not possible, let's not show off. It's okay if this thunder tribulation doesn't end, after all, life is the most important thing. Little brat, who are you calling Lao Bai?" Father stared at Juzi and wanted to beat her, while mother stopped her and said it was too late to go to Mayfly Mountain. My younger sister was annoyed by her bad mouth, and my older brother slapped her on the head. When will you be able to understand?" Zhao Fu smiled but remained silent. Others laugh at her for being too crazy, she laughs at others for not being able to see through. When the elder brother took care of the house, while the father and mother took her and her sister to fly out of the Junwu Continent, into the cracks of space, and up the Mayfly Mountain, Zhao Fushuang was truly disappointed. The Mayfly Mountain, which has been passed down by the people of Junwu Continent, looks just like this. Although Mayfly Mountain is still 100 times richer than the essence of the sun and moon on Junwu mainland, and although Mayfly Mountain is also spectacular, it is far from the 4 holy mountains in her dream. Upon closer inspection, it seems that this mountain is somewhat familiar to the eye. The general direction is somewhat similar to the lowest and shortest divine mountain in the south of the 4 directions divine mountain in a dream. But Zhao Fushuang quickly denied that on the sacred mountain in his dream, there was always the charm of the great road hidden everywhere, and there was no trace of the charm here. Upon landing on the Mayfly mountain, my father solemnly said, "My father, I will take you to visit our senior brother first. If we have to ascend in the future, we will send you heir to practice under our senior brother's door." Zhao Fushuang listened nonchalantly. Father spoke so seriously, with devout respect for this person between the lines. The so-called senior brother, of course Zhao Fushuang knew, was Huang, the mountain master of Mayfly Mountain. This person's name, not to mention her, has been resounding throughout the 5,000 years of the Junwu Continent. If there are too many taboos that can cause wear and tear, then the name Huang will only grow into a cocoon in his father's mouth. Her father is not considered a literary and refined person, and most of the time he is not bound by small details. However, when it comes to his senior brother, no matter where he is, he must stand straight and wish he could perform a pilgrimage ceremony in the air. Zhao Fushuang's curiosity is not heavy, but saying he is not curious about Huang is a lie. Not for Huang's legendary handsome appearance, nor for his unparalleled cultivation talent in his father's mouth. She just wants to see what bamboo will look like after being refined into human form. That's right. Her father is a human, and Mayfly Mountain is a holy land for human cultivation. Their senior brother is actually a bamboo spirit. Are you saying it's interesting? At this moment, although Zhao Fushuang's figure was upright, the light in his eyes was scattered enough, even tinged with a few indescribable wilts. Just like Zhao Fushuang looked at her sister, her father Bai Huanheng looked at Zhao Fushuang with a clear mind. Bai Huanheng knew at a glance that Zhao Fushuang was probably not doing well at the moment. So Bai Huanheng solemnly warned, "Shuanger, put away your frivolous thoughts. If you dare to speak ill of your senior brother, I will definitely not spare you as my father." Zhao Fu stood up with her scattered body bones and nodded solemnly, I know. This matter has been emphasized 300 times at home. Zhao Fushuang naturally knew that his father's treatment of Huang was not as simple as his elder brother's. It can be said that he is as revered as a deity, and only needs 3 sticks of incense to be worshipped in a day. If she really dares to lose his dignity here, he really dares to beat her to death when he turns around. The family flew all the way to the top of the main peak of Mayfly Mountain, standing outside the main cave of Mayfly Mountain, only to find out that her father and senior brother were not in the cave. My father refused to leave, stood straight and insisted on waiting for someone. Zhao Fushuang looked around the Mayfly Mountain in boredom, and finally walked to the waterfall in front of the cave. One hand passed through the waterfall in front of the mountain master's mansion, lazily playing with the piercing water. She casually glanced at the shabby entrance of the mountain lord's cave before her, but couldn't help but say, "Isn't the cave where your mountain lord lives a bit casual? Even their yuntai fortune is not as good as theirs. What do children know? Elder Marshal brother, this cave is the best location of Ephemera Mountain, and the place where the essence of the sun and the moon is most abundant. You can't talk about it if you don't know the whole picture." Zhao Fushuang nodded solemnly and then commented, "Your sect's mountain is also average. At least under the fame of the Cloud Ding sect, this Mayfly Mountain appears too ordinary." "You bastard." Father got angry and used a stick to hammer her. Zhao Fushuang innocently hid behind her mother and said, "I won't let anyone tell the truth." The father was furious and said, "Little child, how despicable you are. All right, you always have the final say." Zhao Fu waved her hands, showing a nonchalant attitude towards her father. My mother doted on wiping Zhao Fushuang's clothes, which had been splashed with water by the waterfall. My younger sister pursed her lips and glared fiercely at Zhao Fushuang. However, compared to Zhao Fushuang's relaxation, by Fuyue was exceptionally nervous. After all, this bamboo is about to be seen, but my younger sister will be the one to follow in her future cultivation. My younger sister is careful and thoughtful, but she can't fall behind her at all. Yun Shuchuan was also a well-known beautiful man in the Junwu Continent. Her parents suggested marriage to Yun Shuchuan, and the reason why her younger sister didn't have any careful thoughts was only because the bamboo she was going to follow in the future was stronger than Yun Shuchuan by 108,000 miles. For this reason, my younger sister was proud to show off in front of her. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. First meeting of Huang. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. First meeting of Huang. Huang returned at this time. He flew his flying machine from afar at an extremely fast speed, and put it away from the mountaintop. He was dressed in white clothes and descended from the sky. There is no immortal like a banished person in the world, nor is there a generation of ghosts and monsters that are awe-inspiring and oppressive. After landing, his footsteps faltered and he stumbled in place for 2 steps. His fair palm tightly grasped the emerald green bamboo in his hand to support the ground before he could stabilize his body. It can be called a mess. But with such an indecent landing style, he stood tall and upright in front of them. Zhao Fushuang's gaze shifted from the large bloodstains on his white chest to his face. He stood against the light, his face momentarily indistinct, only vaguely visible with sharp and beautiful features, but his expression was dull, without any waves, as if he were a passerby in the mortal world. Zhao Fushuang was stunned inside, realizing that the bamboo had grown like this. At this moment, my sister, who had always been obedient and polite, said in a daze, "The world is not deceiving me." Against the light, Zhao Fushuang took 3 breaths in a daze, and finally his eyes fell back to the bloodstains on his chest. The blood stains on his chest were like a blood butterfly about to spread its wings and fly high, faintly stunning as his clothes floated. What did my younger sister say about being honest and not deceiving her? Nature refers to the appearance of Huang. In the past, Zhao Fushuang always felt that people were talking nonsense all day long. However, at this moment, she has 2 parts to admit: perhaps not all people are blind. Not to mention his skin bag, this person's unique and independent aura sets him apart from these ordinary people in the mortal world. He didn't do anything, so she inexplicably dared not be reckless. My father couldn't save face and immediately scolded, "You're so presumptuous, why don't you show respect to your senior uncle?" My younger sister woke up from a dream, feeling embarrassed. My father had already warned them to kneel and bow down when they first met. Zhao Fushuang honestly and by Fuyue both bowed down under the man's blood-stained white clothes. When she spoke, Zhao Fushuang, who had always been careless, felt a slight tightness in her throat. She said 4 words dryly, "I've seen Shibwa before." My younger sister also spoke in a soft and coquettish voice, "Fuyue has seen Shibwa before. Listen, this is the realm of speaking. How can a person who is still unreachable be so close to someone without a surname?" Unexpectedly, before the person could speak, he let out a low cough, turned around, and spat out a mouthful of blood, sprinkling it onto the bluestone slab on the ground. The younger sister looked up in panic and called out to her senior uncle, with a level of tension no less than when her parents were injured. And Zhao Fushuang only stared at the prominent red figure in the snow, lost in thought. Father approached in shock and said, "Senior brother, are you okay?" Zhao Fushuang quietly rolled his eyes. "Does he look good?" Mother also worried and said, "Senior brother, are you going alone to save senior sister Rongyin again?" The other party didn't say yes or no, calmly speaking, "No need to worry." Mother urgently said, "Saving sister Rongyin will definitely exhaust her cultivation. The demon clan is waiting for this moment. Every time it's not an ambush on the side, how can we not bring anyone to help each time?" Huang raised his hand and calmly wiped away the blood from the corners of his mouth with his fingers as clear as jade bones. With half a rein protecting him, the demon clan can't help but wait for a while. Get up, there is no need for such a big gift. Huang turned to give their sisters a virtual hand, with no waves, and the calm is cold and faint. Zhao Fushuang remained silent, and by Fuyue said, yes, Shibua is the person my father respects the most, and he is the elder we respect the most. When she said this, her father's face immediately showed a smile. But the other party was obviously different from her father and not good at dealing with such flattery. He only hesitated and waved his hand to open the door of the cave, intending to invite them in. Her father said, I just want to bring them to visit my senior brother this time. Since my senior brother is injured, I won't disturb you for healing. I'll take them to the reward pool. The other party nodded and turned around, saying, when it's time to ascend, if they don't mind the constraints of the Mayfly mountain, just send it over. Thank you, senior brother. Father and mother's joy was beyond words. With this promise, not only by Fuyue, but also Zhao Fushuang has a certain degree of reliance. Fuyue bit her lips and raised her voice with sweet concern, saying, Master, please pay attention to your health. In the floating room of the white clothes, the person paused in their footsteps and walked into the cave with a faint response. Huang left, and his father and mother looked joyful as they bowed again to the cave door. Zhao Fu took 2 steps forward and squatted on the ground to watch the person spit out a mouthful of blood. There is no magic fluctuation in the blood. That is to say, the person whose father worships as a deity has no cultivation at this moment. After flying into the void, far away from the person who clearly did not release pressure but inexplicably dared not be reckless, Zhao Fu spoke more. She clicked twice, a mountain master without cultivation is somewhat like this Mayfly mountain, with some meanings that are difficult to match beneath its fame. My father was so angry that he stumbled in front of her. Zhao Fushuang, if you continue to speak so freely, I will send you back, my father. Zhao Fu lazily replied, I can't wait. Father exclaimed, son of adversity. My mother said, senior brother exhausts his magic every 100 years to send sister Rongin into reincarnation. This time, he naturally depletes his cultivation. However, senior brother has extraordinary talent. As long as he does not endanger his life, his cultivation will always be restored. Oh, Zhao Fushuang responded casually, recalling the way Huangqiang had been holding on just now. This mountain is not very good, but the person is a wonderful person. More like a delicate beauty whose cultivation has been completely lost and her character still exists. As she spoke, even her mother disapproved and rubbed her head, saying, you can't be unreasonable. Her father became even more furious and said, absurdity. Do you still have secular ethics in your eyes? That's your senior uncle, how could he be so careless? Why is this related to secular ethics? She didn't think anything of it either. However, since his father thinks so, how could she let him down? Dad, I think Shibua looks pretty good. Otherwise, please don't consider my engagement with the 3rd prince of Cangnan. I have a crush on Shibua's elderly family. Master is not important, what's important is being able to anger her father. Sure enough, upon hearing these words, the old father was furious and said, Zhao Fushuang, do you still know a little bit of propriety, righteousness, and shame? Is your senior uncle something you can think of? If you don't change your frivolous nature, I'm afraid that Sichuan child may not even be interested in you. Zhao Fu rolled her eyes and nodded straight, Dad, you don't need to be so reserved. Yun Sichuan's eyes are about 80% on the back of his head to be able to appreciate someone like me who is notorious. Don't mock Su Chuan for having his eyes above his head. The royal family's relationships are complex and intricate. Can you tell me which one of your qualities is suitable for being a princess? Zhao Fushuang smiled and said, you're absolutely right, so it's good to be a mountain lord's wife. She holds a high position and authority, obeys all over the world, worships all over the world, and is accompanied by beautiful women and husbands on the side of her bed, let alone the relationship between mother.in.law, daughter.in.law, sister.in.law, and servants. These days are much more nourishing than being a prince's consort. Little brat, you're a fool talking about dreams. Seeing her speaking seriously, the old father was really angry and grabbed a stick to chase after her before running. Gentlemen, if you hit me again, I'm afraid I'll have to figure out the names of both my master and me. You bastard. Zhao Fushuang ran and pondered, what do you think a child born of a human and a bamboo? Is it a human or a bamboo? Oh, it could be a bamboo shoot. Lao bai, it hurts. Are you serious? Then don't blame me for using poison. You still use poison, it's against your will. Later, the mother shook her head helplessly and said, you guys, one skin, one ignites, they're all children. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. 7 Grade Pills. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5 7 Grade Pills. Junwu lived for 5,300 years. Zhao Fushuang is 400 years old. Inside the burning red stone house next to the crimson flame purgatory, there is one person, one cat, and one alchemy furnace isolated. The woman sat cross-legged in front of the alchemy furnace, kneading the formula with both hands, and triggering the earth's core flames from the crimson flame purgatory to burn the alchemy furnace. The red fire scorched the alchemy furnace until it turned red, roasting the peerless spiritual medicines that drifted into the furnace, and also burning the women who cast spells. The 2 round beads above the woman's earlobe constantly generate a cold energy that envelopes her whole body, preventing her from being burned by the flames. And the black cat lay leisurely in a corner of the stone house, its dark fur fearless of the high temperature inside. In the red furnace, the impurities of the peerless elixir were burned out, leaving only essence rolling in the furnace. The woman's palm magic carefully controls the fire, trying to condense the remaining essence. However, things went against expectations. After the flames burned, the essence of the half-embrace finally spread with a burst. The essence of the site was scattered in the furnace, which was destroyed and burned by the fireworks. The red eyes of the women flashed strong reluctance. Biting her red lips tightly, the woman cut through the palm, and the blood in her body was drawn into the alchemy furnace from the palm. The woman's blood keeps flowing into the elixir furnace and is purified by the burning fire. The remaining essence wraps up the essence of the elixir. For a while, all the scattered essence seemed to be drawn by something. They gathered from the furnace to the blood. With the blood as the center, all the essence flowed and fused again. With the continuous loss of blood in a woman's body, her stunning appearance gradually loses its color, and her skin contracts and wrinkles, causing her black hair, like a waterfall, to gradually lose its luster. The black cat, who had been lying in the dark all along, finally straightened up, with its sparkling green eyes shining cold. It spat out words, using essence and blood as a guide, Zhao Fushuang, you really don't want to die. Zhao Fu closed her eyes and never replied. No success, no mercy. She has no way out long ago. A long 30.6 days. Zhao Fu's delicate and fair skin is completely dry and wrinkled, leaving no trace of moisture. Her black hair is as dry as grass until every inch disappears. On this day, as the morning glow carried the vitality of all things and revealed its radiance, the light inside the alchemy furnace shone brightly until the entire enclosed stone house was illuminated. Dancing. The ground fire receded, and Zhao Fu both fell to the ground with her head down. The fiery red pill seems to have spiritual intelligence, breaking through the furnace and floating out of the air on its own. The 7th grade elixir was successful, and from then on, she can be considered a mediocre 7th grade alchemist. Zhao Fushuang thought to herself, if her parents knew she could refine 7th grade pills at the age of 400, wouldn't they have thought about it for a while longer when they abandoned her back then? Zhao Fu's dim and lifeless eyes were fixed on the fiery red pill, but she was powerless to retract it. At this moment, the lazy black cat curled up in the corner pounced suddenly, throwing the pill into its arms, and its already bright glass-like eyes shone with green light repeatedly. Zhao Fushuang lay powerless on the ground, his hoarse and broken gong-like voice still mixed with the threat of cynicism. If you dare to eat, just wait for death. The black cat pondered for a moment, and the light in its glass-green eyes finally narrowed by 3 parts. Its voice was full of mockery. With your half-dead appearance now, even if you can return to the Mayfly mountain, what should you do? It's just a mayfly shaking the big tree. Here, when I improve my cultivation, maybe I can help you live more time. Although Zhao Fushuang was already at the end of his life, his curses, even if they overdraw his life, must be strong and powerful. Fuck your mother. Black cat, cat butt, thank you. Greedy and greedy, the black cat dared not actually swallow the pill that Zhao Fushuang had exchanged with his life. Zhao Fu was crawling on the ground, unable to move a single inch, as if she had died quietly. The black cat was holding a pill in its arms, lazily stretching its dark body. It has been 3 days now, and there is still a delicate movement between Zhao Fu's nostrils. The black cat lost patience and said, "Why aren't you still alive?" Zhao Fushuang drifted his breath back and said, "Otherwise, would you wait and see?" The black cat snorted and stared down at the pill in its arms, then extended its long and thin tongue to lick it. Zhao Fushuang. Can you be even more disgusting? Black cat. Anyway, this pill is not for you to take, do you mind me? Zhao Fushuang thought to herself, Li is such a Li. So he continued to lie on the ground, slowly recovering his strength. Finally, on the 10th day, Zhao Fu pinched her fingers and spoke slowly, the deadline for Rongyin's reincarnation is approaching. He should have appeared. Black cat snorted coldly, just like you're dying now, don't expect me to take you to find someone. Even though you know it's all an ambush from the demon clan, you go in and die. I won't do it. Zhao Fu snorted coldly, and her hands, which had been stiff for 10 days, moved inch by inch below her body. A stamina pill appeared in her hand. She stiffly placed it in her mouth, with a slight movement of her tongue, and slowly swallowed it. Black cat. Is there any pill you don't take? Are you lying on the ground for 10 days? Zhao Fushuang, cool and refreshing. Black cat glanced coldly at Zhao Fushuang and said, "You're sick." Zhao Fushuang lay on the ground, too lazy to answer. After swallowing the stamina pill, his withered body finally sprouted a few new shoots. She instructed the black cat, "Old Black, go find the stick." Black cat licked the pill and replied amidst his busy schedule, "I'll find you a knife. You can die faster. Don't be stubborn with me, turn around and cut off your cat food. It's about cat food, don't play around." The black cat snorted and walked elegantly out of a small hole in the corner of the stone house. In no time, a black burning stick was stuffed in and thrown in front of Zhao Fu. Zhao Fushuang lay on the ground and opened his eyes to scan. "No, we need green ones." The black cat came back with a green branch in its mouth. "No, it needs to be more detailed." The black cat patiently picked up a thinner one and came back. "Black hair." "No, we need to have a sense of propriety." The black cat was annoyed to death and said, "What exactly do you want?" Zhao Fushuang thought for a moment and said, "Find a bamboo." The black cat roared, "If you want bamboo, you need bamboo. Don't you explain it all at once." Zhao Fushuang said casually, "It's not urgent. Anyway, it's not time yet. Let's play for a while. Having a master like you, I've fallen into blood mold." Although accustomed to someone's reckless behavior, the black cat couldn't resist and left cursing. This time, the black cat came back with a bamboo that was neither thick nor thin, nor long nor short. Zhao Fushuang looked at it, struggled to hold it in his hand, and stood up. Taking the pill from the black cat, Zhao Fushuang struggled to open the heavy stone door. The sunlight shone straight in, and Zhao Fu's eyes, who had been in the darkness for a long time, couldn't adapt to the light. However, she didn't hide or dodge, allowing the piercing pain that seemed bright and dark to pass. The small stone house is close to the red flame inferno, and even the entire sky outside is hot and dry. The black cat followed behind her. Where's cat food? Zhao Fushuang stumbled out half a mile before saying, my cultivation has dried up, my spiritual consciousness is silent, and I can't open the spatial bracelet. That means there's no cat food left now. It won't happen soon either. Maybe there will be any in the future. Zhao Fushuang, do you know why you betrayed your loved ones? Black Cat turned his head and left. This is your retribution for not being human. Yeah, who said it wasn't? Zhao Fu sighed leisurely and said, the world is desolate and human relationships are thin, let alone rely on animal love. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Li Gui's debt claims. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. Li Gui's debt claims. The black cat quickened its pace of departure and said, Pooh, you heartless bald old witch. After poking Zhao Fushuang's sore spot, Old Black left cursing. Zhao Fushuang was not distressed either, and as he approached the stream, he bent down to look. TSK, even an extra glance would be harmful. She touched her barren head in a daze, truly becoming a bald old witch. An elderly face, a hunched back, a bald head that never grows, paired with a white shirt. An old and ugly face, dressed strangely, living like a vengeful ghost. Traveling to the nearby village, I borrowed a coarse linen robe to change into, so as not to look so terrifying. After changing her clothes, Zhao Fushuang remained silent. Her originally bright eyes, with the melting of her whole body's essence and blood, completely lost their radiance at this moment. Without that young and beautiful skin, she truly lived like a pile of walking dead. She is notorious, but fortunately she has a good family background, and people no longer look up to her. In order to please her parents, she still bravely praises her beautiful crown, Junwu. Now there has been an accident, and she has survived for 300 years. Today, she even returned the small skin bag gifted by her parents. Zhao Fu's rough voice was both weathered and sorrowful. The appearance of this fierce ghost is also good. The way of heaven is good and evil will eventually be rewarded. The fierce ghost demands debt, and even with all its efforts, it will come to an end. Bamboo was used as a crutch, and Zhao Fu walked non-stop on the muddy path, moving all the way to the next village. She is like a marionette, almost falling apart, but miraculously able to walk continuously. In a month's time, she finally arrived at Yushi village. Step by step, I climbed 100 steps of stone steps and arrived at a very clean and tidy farmhouse. Stopping to listen, a woman's painful sob could be faintly heard in the room in the yard. Senior brother, I'm not willing to accept it. I don't want reincarnation, that's why I thought of you. I don't want this endless cycle. Zhao Fushuang knew that the speaker was Guo Rongyin, the fourth disciple of the former leader of the Mayfly Mountain Cloud Ding sect, and Huang's fourth junior sister. Guo Rongyin is also her father's fourth junior sister and her mother's senior sister. She once followed the rebellion of the demon clan in Huang, and at a critical moment, she blocked the deadly move for Huang and was struck by the eternal reincarnation curse of the demon clan. The curse of reincarnation is so hateful that it does not kill people in one go. When the attack occurs, the whole body is shrouded in demonic energy. If a strong person can use their cultivation to enter reincarnation, they can survive. Waiting for the next reincarnation, continuing to erupt, continuing to reincarnate, this is called the eternal reincarnation curse. And the seventh grade elixir, the Me Mantra pill, which she had exhausted all her essence and blood to refine, was the antidote to this eternal cycle curse. For a long time, Huang's cold and deep sigh came from the room. Rongyin. The woman seemed to be in more and more pain, her voice becoming weaker and weaker. Senior brother, the tragic death of life and death has hurt me so much. I really want to be relieved. Senior brother, can you give me a relief? The man's voice in the room was deep and determined. Wait a little longer. The antidote is only 2 pills, at most 2 lifetimes. I will definitely take you back to Mayfly Mountain. Huang's voice, Zhao Fushuang remembers it to the death. She smiled, leaned on her cane, pushed open the door, and stumbled in. She spoke, although that's the case, how should you obtain the Millennium Golden Thread Lotus and the 1,000-year-old building? The lack of medicinal plants on this continent is not a matter of a day or 2. Aren't you searching for these medicinal herbs for 1,000 years without success? His rough and hoarse voice sounded like a broken gong, which really doesn't sound good. Upon hearing her voice, Rongyin, who was originally lying in bed, looked up. The black face shrouded in black smoke was shrouded in tears, and 3,000 strands of green silk still showed signs of weakness. Even though the face was dark, looking only at her facial features, it was not difficult to see how delicate and charming a woman's skin was when it was normal. Zhao Fushuang glanced at Rongyin before turning to the man standing by the bed. A face with sharp edges and corners, yet merciless and lukewarm. Not seen in 300 years, he still remains the same, dressed in white clothes that surpass snow, elegant and ethereal, no one is startled by the first sight. Long time no see, with a dignified appearance, a dog-like appearance, cold-hearted and lung-cold dog thing. Mayfly Mountain Master Huang. Who are you? Huang's voice was clear, cold, and emotionless, completely devoid of the half-gentle tone he had just shown towards Rongyin. Zhao Fushuang said as she smiled and reported to her family after Zhao Fushuang finished speaking his name. Huang's expression did not change at all. How did the old lady know that I needed a 1,000-year golden lotus and a 1,000-year-old building? Old lady. Zhao Fushuang really laughed this time. He doesn't seem to remember her like this. Oh, how dare he not remember her during these 300 years of unbearable pain. Zhao Fu spoke leisurely and said, young man, with your appearance, it's not an exaggeration to call the old lady auntie, right? Zhao Fushuang, who had been crawling under his feet 300 years ago, would not have defiled this person so much even if he had acted recklessly. But Zhao Fu, who has lived for 300 years, dares not to be afraid, only afraid that her words cannot be more provocative. Huang's cold eyes showed that before she could speak, Rongyin was already dissatisfied. She endured the pain and gasped for breath, scolding, where did you come from? How dare you be so disrespectful to my senior brother? Oh, your senior brother Emperor Lousy. Do you need to kneel 3 times and kowtow 9 times when you see him? My senior brother is the mountain master of Mayfly Mountain. Even the emperors of various countries in our continent would respectfully call out, Mountain Master, when they see him. What are you? Zhao Fu smiled and said, so, there are many people in the world who are blind in their eyes and hearts. A person like Huang, who always holds a high position and carries a demeanor of banishing immortals away from the hustle and bustle, probably has never heard anyone disrespect him in his life. Isn't it important to kneel and bow carefully to him, just like you did back then? Looking back now, who is not a person in the mortal world? She was also very blind back then. You. Junior sister, Huang stopped Rongyin without paying attention. Can he come here at this moment and clearly state the medicine he has been searching for years without success? Can this person still not know who he is? Knowing his identity but still speaking rudely, even if he comes prepared, how can he distinguish right from wrong with just a few words? Why engage in meaningless disputes? Huang turned to Zhao Fushuang, his voice still calm. What is the reason for the old lady's visit this time? Don't worry, your junior sister won't die for a moment or 3, I'll talk to you slowly. Zhao Fushuang struggled to sit down on a bamboo stool in the room. This old woman is not good at speaking and is full of cunning, clearly coming to find fault. Rongyin's face was twisted by the demonic aura and she said, Senior brother, I don't want to see her. Let her go. Huang suppressed Rongyin's displeasure and said, let's listen to her finish. Looking at Huang's eyes without any waves, Zhao Fushuang couldn't have known that this righteous hypocrite didn't even take her seriously, and he naturally didn't care about her disrespect. You don't just need these two medicines, you also need an alchemy furnace. To refine the me mantra pill that relieves the cycle of reincarnation, it is necessary to have a cinnabar pill furnace. However, cinnabar is afraid of fire and cannot withstand the scorching earth fire of the crimson flame purgatory. You cannot obtain a fireproof cinnabar pill furnace. No matter how many precious medicinal herbs you make, the pill will have no effect on relieving the curse. Moreover, even if you collect everything completely, the only 8th grade alchemist in the world, by Huang, had already ascended 300 years ago. So, as a small 6th grade alchemist, you have no more than 2 chances of successfully refining this curse elixir. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Malicious Difficulties. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7 Malicious Difficulties. Little 6th grade alchemist. Rong Yin laughed angrily and said, I have been reincarnated in the world for 1,000 years, and I have not known about the world for a long time. I wonder when the 6th grade alchemist is no longer worth mentioning. Zhao Fu raised her eyebrows and said, having lived for over 5,000 years and initially becoming a 6th grade alchemist, is it really worth being proud of? My senior brother is originally made of bamboo and has a natural fear of fire. Being able to possess today's 6th grade alchemy power is already a miracle. When will you be humiliated by a woman like you? Zhao Fushuang also did not argue with her about this matter. Since you are so clear, there is no need for me to say more. What can last for 2 lifetimes at most? In fact, you are very clear in your heart that he is just comforting you to endure more years of torture. You, if you truly love your senior brother and no longer worry about him repeatedly exhausting his cultivation to take you into reincarnation, go out now, walk towards the crimson flame purgatory, and jump in. You will never have to suffer this pain again, and you can also save your senior brother from water and fire. Upon hearing this, Rong Yin's angry eyes instantly lost their radiance, and she couldn't say a word more. Tears rolled uncontrollably down her thin cheeks, and her increasingly swollen head and wavering thoughts made her life more difficult than death. What else did Zhao Fushuang have to say? Huang looked expressionless and said 2 words. Get out. Zhao Fushuang remained unmoved, his hoarse and aged voice clicking twice. Are you angry now? Where did this go? When she was in agony in front of him back then, he sat much more steadily than her. Can't he bear these few words anymore? Huang had no intention of listening to her meddling and pestering again. With his palm's magical power, he sucked the person in and clasped his 5 fingers tightly around Zhao Fu's shoulders, effortlessly throwing the person out of the window. Zhao Fushuang's current body cannot withstand any wind or grass. With Huang's throw, Zhao Fushuang smashed the window and fell to the ground, killing half of her life. Almost at the moment of falling to the ground, I fainted. Before falling into a coma, she still threw out the curse pill that had drained her entire body of blood. The me mantra pill scattered on the ground, emitting a colorful light. The pupils of Huang in the room shrank. Look at the pill beside Zhao Fushuang. Rong Yin said in despair, Senior brother, forget it, let me be liberated. I don't want to see you exhaust your cultivation time and time again to send me into reincarnation, nor do I want to see you trapped by me forever without liberation. Rong Yin said something that Huang didn't hear, his eyes were only filled with the me mantra pill. He walked out of the room and waited until he was 3 zhang away from Zhao Fushuang. Finally, he confirmed that the pill that had fallen to the ground was the me mantra pill he had been searching for 1,000 years. Huang's cold eyes looked at Zhao Fushuang. This old woman may not be entirely right either. He has obtained the extreme northern cinnabar that is not afraid of high temperatures, and the refining furnace is just around the corner. He is not a 6th grade alchemist now, but a 7th grade. Before his ascension, junior brother Bai had also recorded in detail the key to refining the me mantra pill. In another 200 years, he is confident in successfully refining the Me Mantra pill. However, he lacks a 1,000-year-old building and a 1,000-year-old golden lotus. Instead of gambling, the Me Mantra pill now in front of him can quickly relieve Rong Yin's pain. However, even if he doesn't often interact with the world, he knows that this old woman is difficult to deal with, and this curse pill cannot be easily obtained. After a moment of silence, his eyes inadvertently fixed on the bamboo leaf bracelet on Zhao Fushuang's exposed wrist. The bracelet is made of an emerald green bamboo leaf, and there is no human interface at the connection between the leaf tail and the leaf tip, as if it is bound and fitted by an invisible force. The veins of bamboo leaves are clear, wide and narrow, crystal clear, light and soft, yet introverted and radiant, seemingly containing infinite vitality. The bracelet is tight and narrow, as if it naturally matches the frail old woman. Huang's eyes fixed slightly on the bamboo leaf space bracelet. After pondering for a long time, the magic in his palm still warmed up Zhao Fushuang's body. Almost as soon as the magic touched Zhao Fushuang's body, his eyebrows furrowed inexplicably. There is no spiritual fluctuation in the old woman's body, she is old and decaying, and truly immortal. Given her current condition, if it weren't for a stamina pill in her body, she should not have had the strength to appear here. Under the breath of magic, Zhao Fu woke up leisurely. Ha! After seeing Huang standing 1 foot away from her, delivering magic to warm and nourish her meridians, she burst out laughing, her rough voice inexplicably strange and unpleasant. Huang. There are many strange people in the world, especially this old woman. Rongyin stumbled out, holding her painful head and saying, "Senior brother, what are you doing?" Huang withdrew his palm power and stood expressionless below, saying directly, "What do you want?" Zhao Fushuang struggled to reach out and held the Me Mantra pill in her palm. Her voice, like a broken gong, was composed of a calm and indifferent expression of life and death. "Don't want anything. Huang, I dare to ask, are you taking this Me Mantra pill on your own? Do you not know if I need it? If she were to use it, would she come all the way here with this pill?" Knowing what to ask, how hypocritical. Huang's eyes were pitch black. She came here with a wandering breath, so it's impossible not to have what she wanted. I'm afraid she wants to wait until Rongyin is on the brink of death, so that she can easily offer conditions in exchange for more benefits. It's also possible. She just likes to watch Rongyin make things difficult for him. Based on her previous style, it is highly likely that it is the latter. If that's the case, treating the pain of others as a pleasure, she occupies 9 levels of the world's despicability. Zhao Fushuang sneered, where did she go now? Why did she just look as if she was unforgivable? You can also kill and take the elixir. When you were dying, you knew that the Lord of Mayfly Mountain was just a hypocrite, and I, Zhao Fushuang, didn't waste my life. Huang's expression was calm, and he no longer tugged at Zhao Fu's words. He turned around and helped Rongyin back to the room. Rongyin also understood and said, "Senior brother, is she really holding an antidote?" Huang pondered, 9 out of 10. Rongyin was both happy and sad. However, with this old woman's style, this pill may not be easy to obtain. Rongyin can die, but he must not insult his senior brother. Huang firmly said, "It's okay. Since she's here, she won't have nothing to do." The curse on Rongyin's body was becoming more and more severe, and her skin began to darken. Her throat was restrained, and every breath was extremely painful. Knowing that she had the antidote and that it was not so easy to obtain, the more she suffered, the more proud the one outside might be. Therefore, no matter how painful Rongyin was, she no longer moaned and only persevered to the death. Zhao Fushuang couldn't see Rongyin in pain, and couldn't see Huang in a dilemma, which was meaningless. She walked into the room with a crutch, feeling somewhat bored. It's true that the people sent by Yunding are all first-class hypocrites. Seeing her come in, Rongyin struggled to protect her dignity and said, the Cloud Ding sect, will never agree to impossible things just to survive. You go. Yeah, how noble they are. For the sake of so-called principles of justice, one can disregard the lives of others, and even their own lives. Actually, it's just beyond our reach. What to do? The more these righteous people want to show righteousness, the more she wants to tear open the hypocritical veil on their faces. Zhao Fushuang was playing with the pill in his hand when he suddenly exerted all his strength and threw the pill out of the courtyard from the window. Just as the pill was in the air, 7 or 8 figures suddenly appeared outside, all rushing towards the me mantra pill. These 7 or 8 figures have an indescribable demonic aura on their bodies, and they are the people of the demon clan who have been lurking around. It is not easy for the people of the demon clan to break through the blockade and enter the human settlement. Moreover, the higher the cultivation level of the demon clan, the more unable it is to break through the blockade. So the cultivation level of the demon clan who can come over will not be too high, and they can only assassinate Huang after his rescue. Ronin cultivation level is completely lost. At this moment, there is actually a curse pill appearing. If given the opportunity, they would naturally fight to the death not to let the curse pill fall into the hands of Huang. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Exchange of Interests. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8 Exchange of Interests. Almost as soon as the me mandan was thrown out, Huang's figure disappeared into place. When he reappeared, a lingering bamboo in his hand transformed into 8, and wherever he passed, it was filled with overwhelming pressure. Zhao Fushuang in the room only felt her scalp tingling and her breath unstable. Huang's white clothes flowed around, and 8 bamboo stopped 8 people. The pill easily fell into his hands. Pinched in the palm, 8 bamboo pieces transformed into 8 bamboo arrows, sharp arrows breaking through the dust and piercing through the bodies of 8 people like bamboo. 8 demon people who were penetrated by bamboo fell to ashes. The 8 bamboo arrows immediately turned back in mid-air, merged into one, and fell back into Huang's hands. Everything flows smoothly, as if he was just pinching a few ants. His combat style, swift and resolute, goes against his ethereal demeanor like that of a banished immortal. Her parents and siblings all say she is conceited, but now it seems that compared to him, she is just a little witch seeing a big witch. Knowing that the members of the demon clan were ambushing in secret, but he did not first clear them before crossing Ronin into reincarnation, can only demonstrate how arrogant this person is in his bones. Huang walked in with a calm expression and a pill. Zhao Fushuang came back to his senses from shock and clapped his hands mockingly. It turns out that people with immortal aura who bend over for profit are no different from us mortals, he said. Huang looked at Zhao Fushuang, and from the moment she threw the me mantra pill and led him to take the initiative, he admitted that this old woman was willing to go out. He originally wanted to wait for her to make a request before making a decision, but now it seems that no one has a chance of winning when playing against someone who can set aside his biggest bargaining chip. At that moment, Zhao Fushuang finally saw a brief gaze from Huang's dark eyes. Even if this attention has no warmth. What a restless Huang, isn't he losing his composure for a pill? She can also be considered as pulling him down from the altar without any desires or requests, right? Ronin was extremely angry and said, "Senior brother has never bent down in his life. How dare you force him to come here?" Zhao Fushuang nodded and said, "Yes, you are noble. I rushed to deliver the antidote, and finally begged you to accept it." Ronin said, "Isn't it because you came with an antidote to ask us for it? If you say it, we can agree, but if we can't agree, we can discuss again. Why do you want to humiliate someone?" Humiliation. Is actively seeking a pill a humiliation? Yes, I asked you for help, but so what? Zhao Fushuang took the antidote and turned around, ready to leave. In the end, Huang gazed at Zhao Fushuang, bowed with both hands, and bowed down. Mayfly Mountain Lord Huang asked for the antidote from the old lady, he said, "Senior brother." Ronin mourned greatly. Huang has never sought anyone in this life, but to bow down to this wicked woman for her sake. Huang's voice remained unchanged. If you ask someone to do something, you need to use an attitude of asking for someone to do something, and not embarrass yourself. Before, it was just that he didn't know her intentions. Since he knew she just wanted him to beg her, he didn't feel anything unworthy compared to Rongyin's fate. Zhao Fu looked steadily at Huang. Finally, 300 years ago, how did she beg him? Today, he also bowed and begged her. Watching him win the snow in his white clothes, watching him with black hair like ink, watching him finally bend down to beg her. At that moment, Zhao Fushuang couldn't express how she felt. After thousands of complex emotions flow, they turn into deep fatigue. She dragged her heavy steps and placed the antidote on Rongyin's bed, speaking hoarsely, "I only have one condition, take me into Mayfly Mountain." Upon hearing this, both Huang and Rongyin were taken aback. Is it that simple? Bringing someone into the Mayfly Mountain is an easy task for the disciples of the Cloud Ding sect. Huang asked, "Do you mean to become a disciple of the Cloud Ding sect by entering Mayfly Mountain, or is it just entering Mayfly Mountain?" Zhao Fushuang sneered, "Your Cloud Ding sect has produced all the young people, and I still don't like it." Rongyin bites her lips, even a mortal dares to speak wildly. "Excuse me, how many people in this world are unwilling to become disciples of the Cloud Ding sect?" Huang glanced at Zhao Fushuang and made his words clear. "I am the owner of Mayfly Mountain. Bringing a mortal into Mayfly Mountain is just a matter of raising your hand. With your current situation, even if you enter Mayfly Mountain, you won't have much time to live. In exchange, I can give you 100 years of lifespan." Zhao Fu snorted and said, "Even though you detest me, you still insist on seeking justice. You are really hypocritical." Rongyin was extremely angry and said, "Wicked. Are you using your long mouth to attack people? Didn't your mother teach you to speak well?" Zhao Fushuang said, "I advise you to be more polite to me. I am willing to go out and take back this antidote." Rongyin said, "Who cares? Take it away. I don't want your things even if I die." Huang stopped Rongyin's meaningless dispute and remained calm when facing Zhao Fushuang. "I thought disgust and justice were not contradictory," he said, "then you're amazing, I'm not. When I asked for someone like this back then, they didn't agree, and I've been wanting to chop them off and feed the dog." After saying that, Zhao Fushuang was about to leave. Since she requested it, at this point, Huang had no reason to persist. After carefully examining the Mi Mantra pill, he frowned and said, "How come this pill has a fishy smell?" It is rumored that the body of the Mi Mantra pill is red all over, and when stored naturally, it will release strands of fragrant energy. Zhao Fushuang became interested, stopped and hesitated, "Can't we?" Rongyin frowned and said, "If you don't believe what you heard, you shouldn't be using fake medicine to deceive people, right? If that's the case, I'll fight to death today and pull you to die together." Zhao Fu waved her hands and said, "I don't smell it anymore. This thing was dug out of the cat's mouth. Normally, the cat hasn't rinsed its mouth for 8 lifetimes, so there should still be a foul smell. Why is it just a fishy smell?" Rongyin stared fixedly at Zhao Fushuang and said, "How could there be such a wicked person in this world? She is more despicable than those demons that have haunted her for thousands of years." Zhao Fu laughed mischievously and said, "Just kidding, there's no such thing. Don't worry about eating." As she turned around and left, she whispered in a voice that everyone could hear, "That cat is not particular. It eats all kinds of dead mice, so there shouldn't be any serious illness, right? Rongyin. It is said that the kindness of sending carbon in the snow is unforgettable, but the antidote that Zhao Fushuang sent at this time is particularly despicable." Huang waved his magic power in his hands, washed the pill, and after repeated verification, he confirmed that it was the Mi Mantra pill and handed it to Rongyin. Rongyin originally wanted to resist, but she thought that her senior brother had suffered all the insults for this pill, and she had to take it. When the pill entered her abdomen, the thick black qi on Rongyin's body dissipated visibly, revealing her snow-white skin, and her efficacy was evident. And the efficacy was so good that it surprised Huang once again. No one can understand the eternal mantra and the mantra pill better than him. He has read through ancient books, but there is no chapter that records the medicinal effect of the mantra pill. Most of the time, it takes decades to completely eliminate the residual mantra in the body after taking the antidote and using the Qing mantra technique. Huang's own was surprised by the efficacy of this mantra pill, but he didn't dare to be careless. The Qing spell was repeatedly applied to Rongyin. Because Huang's saving this time did not exhaust his cultivation, naturally no one from the demon clan dared to come and seek death. The Crimson Flame Purgatory divided the territory of the human race and the demon race in half, and sealed off the territory of the demon race. It was difficult for the demon race to enter the human race, and after being repelled by Huang and his people, they suffered even more severe damage. Now, even if the demon king knows the existence of the antidote, he is powerless to seize the pill. However, on the 9th day, Rongyin had regained her beautiful appearance, with a peaceful expression and sleeping soundly like a child. The pain of being trapped for thousands of years can be eliminated in just 9 days, and the medicinal effect is truly amazing. In the morning, Rongyin woke up. Feeling the lightness of her body, a delicate face was imprinted in the bronze mirror. At this moment, Rongyin's dissatisfaction with Zhao Fushuang's playfulness disappeared for the most part. She tugged at Huang's sleeve and smiled, "Senior brother, long time no see." Huang looked over and his expressionless face also showed a hint of softness. After 1,000 years of reincarnation, unable to return to the school, Rongyin recovered once and couldn't wait to return to Mayfly Mountain. As I walked out of the courtyard, looking up, I saw an old woman lying crooked under the tree root that covered the sky and sun. She rested her head on one hand, with a bamboo cane beside her, sleeping casually. Her old face was sprinkled with speckled light shining from the branches. So peaceful that it seems as if it has already gone west. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Returning to Mayfly Mountain. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. Returning to Mayfly Mountain. Rongyin paused with a somewhat complicated expression and said, "Senior brother, is she still alive?" Although the breath was so weak that it was almost non-existent, it was indeed still alive. Rongyin sighed and said, "What a hateful and pitiful monster." Huang had no extra emotions and only said, "Let's go back later." Rongyin naturally knew his intention, and their Yunding sect would act according to their words, not to mention their life-saving kindness. They said that taking her into the Mayfly Mountain would naturally do it. Saying that sending someone's dream into Mayfly Mountain is a matter of raising one's hand, but Huang is not talking big. He is the owner of Mayfly Mountain and wants to send someone into Mayfly Mountain, but it's just a dream-inducing technique. There are 2 ways to enter Mayfly Mountain. One is to dream of entering Mayfly Mountain, and the other is to enter Mayfly Mountain by body. Since she did not emphasize it, it is inevitable to dream of entering Mayfly Mountain. However, when he performed the dream-inducing technique on Zhao Fu's body, he suddenly froze. Her dream-inducing technique cannot penetrate her sea of consciousness, and in the end, it can only dissipate into light points in the air. Rongyin was puzzled and said, "Senior brother, what's going on here? There has never been a person who is not guided by dream-inducing technique. Even if someone has made a big mistake and been expelled from Mayfly Mountain, Huang's dream attraction technique can still be extradited back to the mountain." Huang's eyebrows furrowed slightly, so he cast the spell again and repeated it 3 times. Undoubtedly, all dream-inducing techniques are out of control. And Huang could feel that there seemed to be some obstacle on her body, not that she was not free from the traction of dream attraction technique, but that once dream attraction technique established a connection with Mayfly Mountain, it was instantly dispersed by an unnamed force. This is something that has never happened before. Rong Yin was anxious and said, we should have thought of this woman earlier. She's not that easy to talk to. Senior brother, what should we do now? Huang pondered for a moment and straightened up, take her back to Mayfly Mountain. The Yunding faction has always had a 9-word system, and there is no reason why words cannot be counted. Since dream attraction technique is useless, we can only take her true body into Mayfly Mountain. Huang released a small boat-shaped aircraft made of emerald green bamboo. With a wave of her hand, she put Zhao Fushuang up and Rongyin jumped up on her own, standing behind Huang. The aircraft rushed into the void and disappeared into the clouds. In the void, Rongyin glanced at Zhao Fushuang lying behind her and turned her face with some disgust. Senior brother, is she a nun? Huang had no unnecessary expression on his face, nor did he glance at Zhao Fushuang. He only said in a faint voice, I don't know. She doesn't seem like a good person. We know nothing about her. Will taking her back in a hurry endanger our school? Huang never thought about this possibility. It's not an exaggeration to say that someone who can obtain the Me Mantra pill has the ability to connect with the heavens. However, once a promise is made, it cannot be changed. I personally manage it, and if anything happens, I will take responsibility. Rongyin shook her head and said, Senior brother, it's all me who caused you trouble. No one dared to be so disrespectful to you in the past, but now they have to keep getting involved with this old woman. Huang didn't care, it's just unrelated people. Since it is irrelevant, there is no need to care about whether it is involved or not. When Zhao Fushuang woke up, she found herself above the clouds. She was not surprised either, she just mocked and said, it is indeed the ultimate hypocrisy of the Cloud Ding sect. This statement of 9 tripods really resonates with me. I can never say good things in this rough and hoarse voice. Rongyin scolded back, you old lady, don't you know whose territory you are on? Zhao Fushuang changed to a comfortable position and lay down, oh, then kick me down. Rongyin stared into her beautiful eyes and said, rogue. Zhao Fu opened her dim eyes and looked at Rongyin, who was as intact as jade. She is really a beauty, with a small face as big as a palm and skin as jade. Her facial features are upright, her bright eyes are charming, and her red lips are moist. No matter how you look, they are pleasing to the eye. The key is those eyes, clean like a mirror, but they look much more comfortable than her scheming yet pretentious and innocent little sister. In theory, Rongyin is also several thousand years old, and it is rare for her to be so clean. Zhao Fu's eyes were a bit dazed. 300 years have passed, and I don't know if Bai Fuyue's girl has made any progress in the upper realm. Her competitive nature is not cute enough to think of. However, she had a chance encounter and was personally taught by her parents and siblings. I'm afraid now she can crush ants like her with just one finger. It can also be considered as her intention, but also as a result of the heart disease of chasing her footsteps. Rongyin. What are you looking at? Zhao Fu regained her composure and clicked twice, what else can you see? No wonder some people are willing to spend thousands of years, even after exhausting their cultivation more than 10 times. With just this appearance, sleeping once is worth it. Finally, Huang, who was driving the aircraft ahead, gave a cold glance. Zhao Fushuang looked back innocently. Rongyin felt embarrassed and said, you old woman, your mouth is full of absurdity. My senior brother has someone he loves. Zhao Fushuang was surprised and said, isn't it you who your senior brother loves? Is there someone else here? Is that girl beautiful like a flower? TSK, it turns out that the respected Mayfly Mountain Lord is indeed a hypocrite with half-hearted intentions. Upon careful consideration, I did hear earlier that the Lord of Mayfly Mountain, Huang, had a relationship with Yun Banqing, the daughter of the leader of the Cloud Ding sect. Later, Yun Banqing rose to fame, and this relationship seemed to have come to an end. Huang is ultimately too lazy to pay attention. When I was in Rongyin's small courtyard just now, I didn't want her to stimulate Rongyin anymore. Now, he has no extra words to say to such a ridiculous person. Although Yi Huang ignored her, Zhao Fushuang could see the displeasure on Yi Huang's body and said, "Don't like to listen. Throw me down, it's just eating my words and getting fat. It's nothing. I'll be fine if I fall to death, and no one will spread it to you." Yi Huang remained silent, but Rongyin couldn't bear to say, "My senior brother is not that kind of person. Why is your mind so dirty and malicious?" After causing great anger and resentment, Zhao Fushuang smiled leisurely. Rongyin didn't want to talk to her, but after enduring for a moment, she couldn't help but ask, "Why is dream attraction useless to you?" Zhao Fushuang thought for a moment and said with uncertainty, "Perhaps people who are too beautiful are easily envied by heaven." Finally, Zhao Fushuang came to the conclusion. "Your mountain top refused my entry because it was jealous of my beauty." Rongyin said, "You're really sick." Zhao Fushuang said, "A girl like a flower in jade looks even better when scolding. Come on, if you know how to scold, just scold a little longer." Rongyin. Is she being teased? Rongyin felt a chilly chill coming and hid far away. Zhao Fushuang spoke with a sarcastic tone, and no one spoke to her again. Perhaps due to her health concerns, the aircraft was not very fast and flew for a full 3 days before reaching Mayfly Mountain. Mayfly Mountain is located in a spatial fissure outside the Junwu Continent. The aircraft flew out of the Junwu Continent all the way, and was finally wrapped in a protective cover and charged towards a space crack. From afar, amidst extreme speed, the destination is a chaotic space crack, enveloped in ice and snow by a fierce hurricane. Flying for another hour, at the end of this chaotic and cold land, in the void, stands a towering, majestic snow-capped mountain suspended from the air. Zhao Fushuang looked at the Mayfly Mountain, which was independent of the mortal world, and for a while, he had a trance. The first time she followed her parents into the mountain, she was so arrogant that she boasted of her natural talent and did not take the Mayfly Mountain seriously. But when she came out again, she found out what it means to scatter dust and turn it into mud. The despair that came to an end at that time is still hard to look back on. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Refusal. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The source has no content or has errors.